Well, in this video, I'd like to provoke you. I'd like to provoke some things because the best way to learn is when we provoke ourselves, okay? When we try to ask, why is that correct? Prove me otherwise. And then we have to search in our toolbox, and that's where things get interesting. Now, if I just ask you, I have told you that, and this is everybody know, okay, that if we have a plus in here, we are not altering, okay, the shape of the curve, because when I just put a plus in here, let's just go to the chart in here. Ignore this. This is a plus. Okay, look, the crest is in here. If I put a minus in here, look, the crest is going to become a trough. Okay, we just reflect, okay, the curve in the y direction. Well, now we have a plus in here. So we can say, well, our chart is not going to be reflected, right? So if we started right rising up, we should start rising up. But hey, what is going on? Our chart is starting up. Now it is starting down. What is going on here? Something is weird, okay? Some would say, no, we could only have this trough in here, okay, going down. Only if we had a minus in it. It's wrong. We should go up, the same as in here. We can't change, okay, the shape because the signal it is the same. Yes, let me tell you something. Okay, yes, we cannot change. It is correct, okay, but the problem is that this point, it is not this point. This point, it is this one. Why? Okay, and this is. It's not as easy as it seems. This point was transferred pi over 2. Okay, we're shifting our chart. Okay, but then say, okay, but you said that we are shifting at the same time we are shrinking. Yes, okay, you can't use this trick to tell what are the other points. Okay, let's try to get this next one, for instance. For the first one, not for the first one, for the points that are over the y-axis, okay, in this axis in here, it works. If we try to do this, apply this to any other points, we are going to get into trouble. Because you have two motions, shifting and shrinking. But when you apply this to the points that are over the y-axis, there is no problem just to make a shift. This point, apply a shift of pi over 2, that point goes to here, okay? We just have make a shift, sorry, a shift of pi over 2, okay? And then we just get that point in here. So this is one thing is for sure. Now let's try to apply for this other one. Well, this one is pi, isn't it? Okay, so take pi and apply plus pi over 2. You are saying, okay, I have a pi. If that point went forward pi over 2, that will also go forward pi over 2, right? Well, pi plus pi over 2, it is 3 pi over 2, isn't it? Okay? But if we just look, it should be in here, right? Okay? But actually it's in here. Look, the first, okay, the first part, okay, of this chart, the first half period, it lands at pi. So you should say, okay, so this next on this chart, that point should be pi plus pi over 2. But pi plus pi over 2, it should be 3 pi over 2. And that point is not that one. That point, it is this one. Okay, and it doesn't work. And why it didn't work? Because that point, it is just suffering the consequences of phase shift. Just phase shift pi over 2 and you are safe. But that point, it is suffering the consequences of two motions, the phase shift and the shrinking process. Yes, that point should be at 3 pi over 2. It should, but it's not here. It's went backwards. Why? Because we are shrinking the charts, okay? And that is what I wanted to explain to you. you can only that point that it is in the y direction, meaning only the point at x equals 0, only that point you can just use the shifting process to establish the next point. This is a safe place to be, okay? Don't do this for the other points. Why? Because the shrinking process happens like this, okay? Look, I'm taking cautions to be my reference in the y direction, and this is being shrank, okay? And this is being shrank. So the shrinking process goes like this, okay? This is shrinking process. Notice that this guy is not moving, and this makes a huge difference. This guy is not, when we're just shrinking, it doesn't move, okay, when x equals 0. And I'm going to prove to you. Let's go to here. Now, what we have in here, we just have the sign of x. Let's shrink, okay? Now let's apply this one. Look at this point. It's never going to move, never, okay? It's 0, right? It's always going to be 0. Let's put the 2 in here, you see, and it's 0, and it's also going up, okay? Now again, I can put 5, okay? It's still 0, look. We are not moving, but all the other points, they are moving, okay? So just be careful about that, okay? Oh, but this is negative, I'm sorry, okay? It doesn't matter, okay? It's not going to move either way. Okay, let's start over again. So sine, I'm just shrink half. I just got, this is just pi, and this is just pi, this is pi over 2, and this is pi over 4, okay? You see? I just shrink half. Now, let's shrink even more, 4 times. If this is pi over 2, this is just pi over 8, okay? I'm shrinking 4 times. But notice that this point, it is still the same. I can even shrink 10 times. Oh, no, not 400, just 10 times. Okay, I just can shrink 10 times, okay? And where this point should be pi over 2, that should be what? Pi over 20. You see? Okay? It is just like that. This is linear, okay? And this happens to the entire process, okay? Now, remember this root in here? Just take the red one. This root, it is pi. Well, when I shrink 10 times, that pi is going to be pi over 10. Let's check that. It better be pi over 10. It is pi over 10. Okay? Everything on this axis is being shrunk. Okay? It's very clear like that. It's not more complicated than this. Okay? But our 0, it is always here. Okay? So the shrinking process happens to the right, happens to the left, but our reference, it is exactly in here. Okay? We are shrinking this side, we are shrinking this side, but the reference never moves. Okay? So, although our chart is being held by 2 forces, the shifting process and the shrinking process, this middle one, it is not going to be influenced by the shrinking process. Okay? This one is stable. So this is a very special point to start with, because we are just going to have the motion of the shifting, not the shrinking. Okay? So if when we start at this point, when x equals 0, that's why I just love to start when x equals 0. X equals 0, okay? Sine of minus pi, it's 0, y is 0. When we start at this 0, at this point, when x equals 0, or when we start when the curve meets the y-axis, this point is magical, because you just have to apply the shifting, okay? The shifting process to that point. And that's why ignore this. This is not going to change this. Why? Because when x equals 0, it doesn't matter which number it is, does it? That's why it is not being affected, okay? When x equals 0, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 100, 1000. Okay, x equals 0. We are zeroing that term in here. So when x equals 0, the magical thing happens. Why? Because when x equals 0, the shrinking process is being multiplied by 0. It doesn't matter. Okay? So start with this. It's a very safe place to start. Start with the 0. So let's start with that 0 in here. Okay? Because we know that that 0 is going to be influenced only by the shifting process. Okay? And it is influenced by the shifting process. And that explains why this starts going up and this it doesn't. Why? Because that point on this chart, it is this point. Why? Because this point is only going to be influenced by the shifting process. This point is going to be shifted pi over 2. So that point, it is this one. Now it's agreed. We have a positive in here. We are going up and we're going up. Okay? So if my hand is in this point, the exact point in this chart would be this. Now I'm going to try to follow. Okay. Okay, and that point is this one, the second crest, okay. Now the second crest, okay, let's take for instance, okay, this point in here. Okay, if we try to apply the translation process, the shifting process to this point, is going to be wrong. Why? Because now this point in here, it is being shifted to the right, but at the same time is being shrunk, okay, to the left. So we have two motions going on. Don't try this. You can try pi plus the shifting, pi over 2. This should be 3 pi over 2 in here. It's wrong, you see? Because that point, it is this one. Look, the first crest in here, the first crest in here. So that point, it is this one, okay? So safe places to start, always the 0. Because the 0 is not being affected by the shrinking process, but it is being affected by the shifting. Okay, this shifting, it is being affected. Take the 0, apply the phase shift. Now this point is in here. What should you do next? Very easy. Now we know that every half period we just have another root, but the half period in this part, okay, for this equation, if the period is pi, why pi? The period is going to be half of this one, because this period it is 2 pi, this is half. Because the period in here it is pi, the half period is going to be pi over 2. But we know that every half period, this is a half period, right? Okay, one full period, one half period. Every half period we are going to have another root. You know this point is this one. So this is a root, another half period, another root, another root, another root. We also know that between this point is this one, right? Okay, don't lose track of that, please. This point is this. This point is this, and this point is this, okay? Now, we know that between those 2 points, we have a crest. So put the crest. So we have a crest, a trough, a crest, and a trough, and so on, okay? So, in 30 seconds, how should we draw that chart? Very easy. First thing you have to do, okay? It's actually, okay, you can draw it in 30 seconds. Okay, 13:50, start the minutes, right? Take that point, translate that point to that chart. We're going to apply a phase shift of pi over 2, only that. So that point, it is going to be this one. First step. Next step. I know that every half period, which is in this case pi over 2, every pi over 2, I'm going to have another root, okay? One other thing, I know that this point is this point, and I know that that point is this point, and I know that between those two, I have a crest, not a trough, okay? So just put our crest, trough, and so on. The chart is done, okay? 30 seconds, okay? We got it in 30 seconds. No need to do anything else, okay?